Today we're diving into a recap of the 2023 movie Without Remorse. But first, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. The movie begins with a team of US Navy SEALs emerging from the shadows, eliminating insurgents as they move through a building's ruins in the streets of Aleppo. They are hunting for a target, and after clearing the area, Agent Ritter appears, instructing them to rescue a CIA hostage held by Syrian government forces. Team leader John Kelly relocates his squad to another part of town, where they storm a suspected building and successfully liberate the hostages. After the mission, Kelly searches the pocket of a dead Syrian soldier, and through phone data, discovers the soldier was once part of the Russian military. Ritter urges Kelly to let it go and departs quickly. As they withdraw, however, a Russian unit fires an RPG at them. Kelly and his team retaliate. Realizing they're facing more than just Syrian forces, they've stumbled upon a Russian arms depot. After a grueling battle, they and the hostage escape to the rooftop, where a chopper awaits to evacuate them. Once aboard, Kelly confronts Ritter, blaming him for his men's deaths. Shortly after, they destroy the building and return home. One of Kelly's retired teammates is spending time with his family when he's struck by a van outside his home. Soon after, another retired teammate is assassinated in his car by an unknown assailant. One night, as Kelly and his pregnant wife prepare for bed, he leaves her asleep and heads to the living room for a snack, only to notice the power has gone out. He hears footsteps and the sound of a door opening. Armed with his revolver, he investigates and finds several intruders in his home. A violent clash follows. Though Kelly kills most of the attackers, his wife is murdered. Kelly is shot and injured but manages to survive, though the last attacker escapes. Kelly is taken to the hospital and later visited by Navy SEAL Captain Karen Greer, who informs him of his wife's death and the loss of his former teammates. Kelly tells her the attackers weren't random criminals but professionals specifically targeting him. He asks her for the attackers' identities, but she claims to know nothing and advises him to rest while the investigation proceeds. Once Kelly recovers, he joins a U.S. Army Special Forces unit. Meanwhile, the Secretary of Defense holds a meeting with Ritter and Greer. During the discussion, Ritter reveals the attackers were Russian operatives from the Federal Security Service. He explains they were retaliating for the SEALs' assault on their operatives years earlier, during a mission to rescue the CIA hostages. Ritter also tells the Secretary that the CIA has decided against further action to avoid escalating tensions with Russia. Later, Greer returns to Kelly and confirms the Russians were responsible for his wife's murder and his teammates' deaths. She also tells him the CIA is halting the investigation but does him a favor by providing files on the passport agents who aided the Russian assassins in entering the US, including a man named Andre. Armed with this information, Kelly sets off on a path of vengeance, determined to avenge his wife and fallen teammates. Kelly approaches Andre's office pretending to be intoxicated but is stopped by Andre's security and turned away. Undeterred, Kelly returns to his car and follows Andre onto the highway. He crashes into Andre's vehicle, blocking him from escaping. Kelly sets Andre's car on fire, climbs inside and threatens him, shooting him in the leg to make him reveal the fourth Russian involved. After some resistance, Andre finally reveals the name Viktor Rykov. Kelly exits the car and is promptly arrested by the police. In prison, Kelly is visited by Karen, who warns him that killing Andre has put him in deep trouble and could provoke Russian retaliation. Kelly remains focused on avenging his wife and friends, telling her he has valuable information he'll share only if they get him out. Back in his cell, he notices movement outside. An officer orders him to face the wall to be escorted out for questioning, but Kelly refuses. When 3 officers try to drag him away, he fights back, threatening one of them. Shortly after, a U.S. Marshal arrives, handing Kelly a phone. Karen is on the other end, asking him to cooperate, leading to a private meeting at a military facility. During the meeting, Kelly reveals the name Viktor Rykov. Although Ritter claims Rykov is dead, Kelly identifies him in photos. Ritter explains that Rykov is a Russian spy who has been a long-standing CIA target, though they have never been able to capture him. The Secretary of Defense confirms Rykov is hiding in Russia, and Kelly demands to join the mission to capture him. The request is approved, and soon Kelly, Karen, and their team board a plane bound for Russia. Ritter tells them he'll meet them in Moscow, but Kelly remains wary of him. As they approach Russian airspace, their plane is intercepted by the Russian Air Force, which demands an immediate landing. When the pilot refuses, the Russians attack, forcing the plane to crash into the Barents Sea. Kelly and his team escape and later move to a safe house in Murmansk, where Kelly discovers Ritter in a meeting with 2 Russians with money on the table. Accusing Ritter of betrayal, Kelly threatens him, but Ritter explains he came after the crash to complete the mission to capture Rykov and had hired the Russians as guides. Ritter leads them to Rykov's apartment where Kelly finds Rykov waiting in a suicide vest. Rykov claims that neither he nor Kelly orchestrated their meeting, it was arranged by higher powers to set them against each other. Before Kelly can respond, Rykov detonates the bomb, killing himself. In the chaos, a sniper targets one of Kelly's teammates. After locating and eliminating the sniper, Kelly and Karen face another intense firefight. They ultimately defeat their enemies, but by now, Russian police and military forces have surrounded the building. Kelly orders his team to escape out the back while he remains to hold off the authorities. He detonates an explosion to slow them, battling more soldiers as he retreats. Disguised as a Russian soldier, Kelly manages to evade capture. He reunites with Karen and Ritter and they escape by boat. On board, Kelly questions Ritter about his work with the CIA and Victor. Ritter hands him a bag of money, suggesting he disappear and promising to report Kelly as dead in the operation. Kelly thanks Ritter, apologizing for his earlier doubts. Later in a restroom, Kelly confronts Secretary Clay, accusing him of sending him to Russia with hidden motives. When Clay doesn't provide satisfactory answers, Kelly kidnaps him, threatening Clay's family until he admits the mission was a setup to fuel tension between the United States and Russia for economic gain. Clay explains that creating a common enemy in Russia would unite Americans, with Kelly and his team merely pawns in the scheme. In a dramatic twist, Kelly drives the car into a river, drowning himself and Clay. But Karen pulls Kelly from the water, saving him. Kelly hands over a recorded confession of Clay's admissions to the CIA before parting ways. Karen gives him a new passport and urges him to start a new life under a different name, reminding him not to forget her. And that's how the movie concludes.